factoring this on the back of your green sheet. We're actually going to be putting these green sheets into your survival guide. But who can raise their hand and tell me what was the answer for that first one when I factored it, TJ? How would I factor it? X plus what?
10.
10. And what's the other one? X plus 10, right? Do you guys notice that they're the same number? Now, how else can I write it? When I'm multiplying something by itself, what is that called? What can I do to it? Square it, right? So we're going to be turning that into this today. We also noticed, what's the relationship between 10 and 100? 10 by itself, so it's a square root, right? So we're literally taking the square root of that number, and that's both of these. Let's do the next one. Who can raise their hand and tell me, how do you factor the next one, Jordan?
X minus 5.
Uh-huh. Beautiful. And so what's the relationship between that sign and this, right here, this sign? Minus and the minus. They're the same, right? So this minus is telling you, when we're writing this, that this right here is going to be a minus. And what is the square root of 25? 5, right? And so that's our little relationships, our little tricks. Who can raise their hand and tell me the next one? How would I write that? I know Jordan knows how to do it. Somebody else. Try it out. Camille.
X plus 7x.
Beautiful. How would I write that?
X plus 10 squared.
Perfect. And so since that's a plus, I know this will be a plus. And then what's the square root of 49? 7, right? Last one. Who wants to try it out? Jordan, go for it.
Negative 8.
X minus 8. Uh-huh. And how would I write that? Beautiful. So this is just your do now. You are going to be putting this into your survival guide. It's the last one I'm going to be checking for. And so what we're doing is we're trying to turn things into perfect squares. So what we learned last class is something that looks like this. You remember that? Like it equals 100, and I take the square root of both sides, and I'm solving for x. Does everyone remember what we did last class?
Yeah.
I'll pass their quizzes out in a second. So today, we're going to be finding x-intercepts, but now there's a middle term, like this. So we're going from here to changing it like this, so that we can just solve that way. And so that will make more sense in a few seconds. So turn your paper over, and we're going to be doing the survival guide together. And so the first thing, this works. Let's see. So it looks something like this. X squared plus 14x minus 51 equals 0. So we're going to be turning this equation into a perfect little square. And so before we begin, let's review. If something's next to x squared, I know it's quadratic, right? So the number that's next to x squared is known as our quadratic coefficient. And coefficient, remember, if we're your coworkers or your co-teachers, it's together. Linear coefficients, what's just next to the variable, and that constant nag, that c, that number that's by itself, is the number by itself. So step 2, the first thing we do is if the constant is not already on this side, we're going to move it over. So how would I move 51 over to the other side? Add it. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing I'm going to do in step 2, I'm just going to do it between the 2 steps, is add 51 to both sides. You can even draw a river if that helps you. And so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to rewrite it x squared plus 14x, but now you're going to be leaving a blank, and it's always plus blank, equals, what's 0 plus 51? 51 plus blank. And that will make more sense in a second. We're turning that into that cute little perfect square that we saw earlier. So the first thing we did is we add the constant if it's not already on that side. Sometimes it'll already start there, and we can just add the blanks. The next thing we do, which we won't be doing much of today, it says divide every term by the leading coefficient. What is the leading coefficient? 1. So anything divided by 1 is that same number. This is just in case if we have to divide out a GCF, we do. But you can just rewrite it right here. X squared plus 14x plus blank equals 51 plus blank. Is everyone with me so far? You're not going to have to divide, I don't think, at all today. So now what we do to get this number that makes it a perfect, cute little binomial is I take this middle term, which is 14. You guys see that? I'm taking 14 and I'm splitting him in half. What's half of 14? 7. The next thing I'm doing is I'm squaring that number. What is 7 squared? 49. And what you're going to do is you're going to put that into both the blanks, right here and right there. So how we turn it into a perfect square, this is literally BB8, that IXL is literally just getting that number, 49. You're just literally taking half that number and squaring it over and over again. It took people around like 5 minutes to do that, IXL. Let's make sure your paper's open. Next thing we do is we factor the trinomial. And so you can either do it how you've been doing it on the bell ringer, or what was the trick we learned during our bell ringers? X, and since that's a plus, what goes right here?
Plus.
And what is the square root of 49? 7. Or if you're not getting that or you're going to forget, you could go, okay, what two numbers multiply to 49 and add to 14? 7 and 7, right? And since it's positive, that's going to be positive. Equals, what is 51 plus 49? 100. And so now you can see we just had to do a few steps to move it around. So it looks like what we did last class, right? Now we're just solving for x. So how do I get rid of a square? Square root, right? So we're going to square root both sides. And so that gets rid of the square. Now what a lot of people did on their quiz is they did x plus 7 and x minus 7. But do we change the signs of that right here, what's in the parentheses right here? No, that stays the same. What changes signs is what is the square root of 100? 10 and negative 10. So that's the biggest mistake I saw that was going on that quiz. And then the last step we do for today is how do we get x by itself? Yep, subtract 7 on both sides. And I end up getting x equals 3 and x equals, did I do that right? Oh, and x equals negative 17. It's negative 10 minus 7. And what are these considered? X-intercepts, and this is a question on your quiz today. X-intercepts, what else are they considered? Solutions, roots. So every time we do something like this and we solve for x, we're doing the same exact thing over and over again. We're getting our x-intercepts. Solutions, roots, zeros. And this is just another way. We usually use this when you can't factor. So like when there are no two numbers that multiply to this and add to that, we can always use this method. We're only learning where a equals 1, 2. So if a equals 1, you can always use this method too. So most of this unit's just basically a million different ways to get your x-intercepts. One of the questions on the milestone that open-ended last year were, tell me, here's the equation, write the steps of how to do completing the square, and you would have to go ahead and do that. So that's the only, you would have to use completing square then too. Does that make sense? Okay, so write this down, put it in your book. I'll give you a few seconds or a few minutes, and then we're going to do 1 or 2 together, and if you still need that help, we'll separate into groups. If you want to come back there with me and do a few and just want to make sure you're getting it right, which I would recommend because a lot of people think they got it and they don't, or you can start doing them on your own, but I'm going to be doing number 10 with you. So glue those or tape those into your book. Here's some tape right here. This one's fine. And then we're going to be doing number 10 on that worksheet together. So make sure you got this down. This is all we're learning today, just practicing the skill.
Which ones are we doing?
So the worksheet, what I'm doing, I'm trying to make your life easier. BB9 is this, but it's annoying if you miss one little decimal, if you don't round correctly, it's wrong. And so I don't want it to take you forever. So instead of doing that IXL, I'll let you do those 10 problems on the worksheet and it can count for that IXL. So instead of BB8, it's just completing the square. So BB8 looks like this. Let me turn it up.
And so BB8 is right here. It says complete the square. And this is actually your first question on your mini quiz too. And so this one, all you're doing right here is completing the square. So how would I do that? What do I do with that middle term? Divide it by 2, and then what do you do? Square it. So what would that, what's half of 4? What's 2 squared? 4. And you just type that number in. That's the IXL. That's all you're doing for that one. BB8. BB9 is sitting there and completing the square like this, but you could do the worksheet instead. And I'll count that as the IXL. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's do, I'm just going to do one with you just to make sure you got it. So let's do number 10 together. There we go. So number 10, I'm going to steal this. Number 10 is x squared minus 4x minus 69 equals negative 4. So I'm going to do this one with you. And if you guys need extra paper, I have like a whole pack of paper up here. If you want to do it on the back, you can do it there. So let's make sure we're paying attention. Let's put like your devices away. I want to make sure we got it down, and then you all have time to practice. So I'm on number 10 on the worksheet. So what's the first thing I have to do, TJ? Add the 69 because that's the constant. Now it's not equal to 0 though. What is it equal to? Negative 4. So let's add them. What is negative 4 plus 69? 65. And then when I rewrite this, what do I put after now? The blank and plus blank. It's always plus. Because we're trying to turn this into a perfect square. And since nothing goes into all 3 of these, I don't need to divide anything. Now, how do I get what goes in the blanks? Take half of 4, which is 2. And then what do I do with that 2? Square it. And what do I get? If you did negative 4 and you did it, you would get the same answer. Because anything squared is always positive. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it doesn't really matter if you use a negative, if you don't use a negative, it's still going to get you the same answer. Yep, so it's 4, because half of 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4, and I put that in the blanks right there. Now we turn this into our perfect, cute little binomial, right here. And so, what sign's going to go right here? Well, looking at this, since this is minus right here, what's going to go here? A minus, right? And then we can either factor it or take the square root of this number. What's the square root of 4? 2. Squared, yep. Equals, what's 65 plus 4? So now it looks something like what we did in last class, right? So how do we get x by itself? Square root. And that gets rid of the square. I don't have calculators today because we're using them for the ACT, so I'll just tell you the answer to this one in a second. It is 8.3. So we'll do x minus 2 equals 8.3. What does it also equal? Good. X minus 2 equals negative 8.3. What's the last thing we have to do? Add 2 to both sides, solve for x. And I get x equals, over here, what does it equal? 10.3. And what does it equal over here? Negative 6.3. And those are your x-intercepts. And notice they're decimals. You would not be able to solve this by factoring. You would have to use this method. We will use quadratic formula in a couple classes, but right now you only be able to use this method in order to find the roots. And so those are your x-intercepts. We're going to learn quadratic formula in a couple classes, but for now, the reason why we need to know this especially is because they want to know that you know how to do every way. And so on the milestone, they say, okay, completing the square, what's the next step you would do? That would be an example question. But if they're just asking for the roots, you can use a bunch of different ways. Any other questions? Okay, so we're going to separate. If you guys want to put in headphones and try it on your own first, this is counting as your IXL, so you want to make sure you're getting them correct. If you want to do a few with me, we can do some on the board, but what I can't have is if you are going to PBLF, that means that I'm checking your work. If we don't get that done and you're not going to be able to focus, you need to be responsible and come back in here. Or if you need help from out there, you need to know that you need to come back in here because I can't run all over the place. So how many people want to do a few more with me and just want that extra practice, make sure they're doing it right? Okay, well, if you do, come up here in a few seconds. If you don't, then try a few on your own. I have the answer key so you can check your answer key and stamp it. And then after you can work on that IXL and we'll have the mini quiz. Any questions? All right, I'm gonna put this video on here, so if you guys need to look over it again, you can.